Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wholesome Feed. So today I thought I would talk about a topic that is, I think, frequently encountered when you have children and frequently encountered when you do, mommy blogging. And really anytime you're having to deal with bullies, and particularly online bullies and trolls. I think it's really easy for anybody, even if you think you're a great, nice, kind person, to get behind a screen and to automatically react to something that you see and to be really, really super negative. But I think it's a small minority of people that are actually negative enough to where it gets to trolling and gets to bullying. But certainly, the work I do, it's always surprised me since, if I first started on this whole kind of talking about parenting, talking about breastfeeding, talking about motherhood, in a really honest way. I try not to sugarcoat it, right? I try to be really honest with all of you, my fabulous YouTube family, and say that, parenting, motherhood is really hard. There's all sorts of parts of it that you aren't going to like, that you aren't going to enjoy. And there are all sorts of parts of it that are just going to blow your heart wide open and amaze your mind that you can love something and someone and be so happy in doing something. And so it's this, great tug and pull of these different experiences, right? And I think a lot of groups, a lot of moms or dads feel like they can only say the really, really positive stuff. It's great all the time. Oh my God, I haven't slept in years. And there's more depth to that, and that's part of the beauty of parenting. But what has surprised me in building this parenting community is the sheer amount of just online bullying that I've been the recipient of. And I've had to think about it, right? Like last year, it got really nasty. I got sent really vicious stuff. I had to report comments that were threats to YouTube, threats against me, threats against my kid. I mean, crazy stuff that you're like, I'm just sitting here advocating positivity and breastfeeding and gentle parenting. Like, you need to calm your tea towels down, sit down, have some herbal tea, reevaluate your life. But it really got negative last year. And, I try not to let that kind of negativity affect me, but day in and day out, it does. It creeps in the back of your mind. It makes you censor yourself. Makes you question oh, should I be sharing this? Do women need to know about their bodies and parenting and about the complexity of breastfeeding? Maybe ignorance is bliss. It's not. Education and knowledge is power to love yourself, to love others, to take better care of you and your family. And that's every time I would question myself, I'd always come back to that, is that knowledge is power. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. There's nothing sexual or deviant about full-term breastfeeding or about motherhood and parenting. And you can be a very complex woman with all sorts of facets and be allowed, because you allow yourself, to talk about all these topics. And I don't feel like those should be forbidden, because when you forbid knowledge about yourself and about others, that's a dangerous thing to say. Knowledge is bad, you should be ignorant of this, or you should only be able to gain this knowledge in really dry formats that nobody can really absorb and doesn't really understand, right? That's part of why I wrote my breastfeeding guide, is people need information in a way that they can understand it, myself included, right? Most of us aren't technical experts. We want information that's easy to understand, easy to digest, and actually helps us in our lives, right? From day to day. So, I know, I'm ranting. Last year was really a year where I thought long and hard about internet bullying and internet trolling, and just the amount of people I have to block on Twitter and on YouTube here, and now that I've opened up my Instagram to the public on Instagram, it's just that it's crazy, right? And so part of it is, how do you deal with internet bullies and trolls? So number one is, instead of getting pushed down and crushed under the weight of just negative, mean-spirited, and quite frankly, really ignorant bullies online, if you can find a place in your heart where you get inspired, and that's helped me, is I really thought about it and I went, boy, there are some ignorant fools out in the world. They are dumb, and they're probably mean because they're dumb, because they just don't want to bother to learn anything. And so I got inspired. I thought, okay, so this is true then, this theory that I had that people really don't know about breastfeeding and motherhood and parenting, and that there aren't a lot of sources for it that are really easily understandable. And so instead of getting pushed down and weighted down under just all that meanness, if you can rise up and get inspired by the bullies around you and don't pay attention to them, block them. I am not a fan of feeling like you need to explain yourself to bullies. My YouTube channel is not a democracy. I go through and delete comments that I think are super rude. I'll reply to one that I think is uneducated maybe, but not mean-spirited. So, filter through your life that way, but feel inspired to be uplifted and to continue on with how you're teaching or entertaining or what you're speaking about, that if you are picking the nerves of dumb little trolls, it means you're probably doing something right. You're probably helping people. And 2 is, what I've come to is realizing that instead of giving up and being like, I just can't take it, people are too mean on the internet, I'm just not going to speak anymore, is that I get inspired to, talk about more and discuss further this apparently radical idea of love and kindness, right? Be loving and kind to yourself, be loving and kind to your partner and your family, and be loving and kind to your children, right? That this gentleness, kindness, and love go a huge way to, kind of bringing out the divine in you, right? Divinity in yourself is not found in small-mindedness or cruelty or trying to toughen up your children because they're too weak. It is about love and opening up your heart, and that is a radical, beautiful idea that I think, all this internet bullying has kind of taught me. What's my reaction? Implement the radical idea of kindness. Kindness to myself, kindness to them, which doesn't mean I'm engaging, it just means, everybody needs to be on their own path, and kindness to those around me. And if you have internet bullying in your life, if your child's being bullied, you have to, this is very important, you have to not feel like you have to explain yourself to bullies. Separate the bullies from your life or from your child's life. They don't need to be going through that. But you don't need to do that with animosity or hatred. You can do it with kindness and love towards yourself and towards those around you. And I think that that's a really valuable lesson. And I was testing, I'm like, do I want to talk about this on YouTube? Do I want to be this open and honest, that negativity does get to me and I have to think about it. I have to think, how do I want to process this? But I thought, that's been part of my parenting journey. I experience it both in online platforms because of what I do. And then also, my son, like maybe has a speech delay, right? I've talked about that before. And kids can be mean to him and upset him. And, with the low verbal ability, I try to explain to him so that he understands, to still love himself and still be kind, not to react, by pushing or being aggressive with kids when they're mean to him. And that's been a really valuable lesson. And I think internalizing it myself through my experiences allows me to then teach it better to my son and to those around me. Because it's so easy to be tired or ignorant or just at your limit and to be mean. And for that to scoot over into bullying, and it is something that we're in an epidemic of right now, right? Because we just don't talk about gentle parenting enough and kind parenting. We're trying to toughen our kids up for a hard world, and that's what they're gonna learn. And you know what toughening up your kids for a hard world teaches them? That it's a hard fucking world and that they should be mean jerks. And I don't want to teach my son that, because that's not the world. The world is filled with beautiful, kind, loving people, And it is amazing how if you go through life with love in your heart and not hatred or anger, it's amazing how much happier your life will be. And teaching that to your children, that's powerful. I always think of my kind of job as a mom is to guide my son to be a caring, contributing adult who lives with joy and with happiness, right? And by teaching our children and ourselves to live with kindness and love in our hearts, that really does hand the keys to happiness to your child, right? Like, these are the keys to the car of happiness that you will drive your whole life. You can decide whether you want to drive the car, but if we don't lay this foundation of gentle parenting and kindness, even when it comes to bullying, we aren't handing our kids the keys to that happiness car, and they're going to have to hunt down those keys on their own, and it's going to be a lot harder. So, give yourself permission to hand yourself the happiness keys to your life, right? And realize that online bullying, online trolls, it can be an inspiration. It doesn't have to pull you down. It doesn't have to be a negative aspect of your life. If somebody, even one person, is bullying you online, you know, it's a great opportunity to reflect and think, how can I bring more kindness into my life, right? You know, how can I double check what I'm doing in life? So I hope that this is a helpful topic. I know it can be kind of, you know, oh, why are you talking about bullying, you know? But I think it's something that everybody goes through, that everybody experiences at some level and some point. And, you know, part of it is sharing my experience and my little journey on motherhood, and this has been part of it. So feel free and check out our Patreon page. I'm kind of been shifting that over from just breastfeeding advocacy to also more like self-care, motherhood, kind of self-help topics also, because I thought that that would be fun to just kind of widen what it's about, make it a little bit more fun, and I've made it a little bit more playful. So until next time, thank you so much for being a positive, loving part of this parenting community. And I love getting to discuss these topics. You know, some of the things I want to talk about, I can't talk about on YouTube, right? They just censor it. And they'll take down videos randomly or, you know, for whatever reason, complain about them. But I try to be as open and honest as this platform allows, because parenting is complex. Online bullying is complex. And I hope that the videos, you know, they all help you, right? It's all just an honest correspondence with all of you. So until next time.